Greetings and welcome to this edition of Faith to Live By. I can hardly believe it, but I'm on my 250th episode today. That means that 250 weeks worth of deep dive research to discover the truth as best we can on a tremendous number of topics has been accomplished, all while we seek the Lord from a biblical and prophetic perspective to know how God wants us, His children, to partner with Him, to see His kingdom will done on earth as it is in heaven. If you don't already know, I'm Pam Christian, your devoted truth advocate, working each and every week to help us discover and live in life-giving truth and experience all the hope truth provides. Even when things are stacked up high against me, as they have been for a long time, tantamount with our daughter's 2-year-long life and death trial, and the 75-foot, 40-year-old Aleppo pine tree that crashed into our house, causing serious damage, not to mention car troubles with my 2001 Lexus, including the battery needing to be replaced and the humongous screw that punctured one tire. Then a few weeks afterwards, my car being pronounced dead by the mechanic. But we prayed, and I now have a Lazarus Lexus. And the fact that since March 29th, I have suffered an excruciatingly painful tooth issue that has debilitated me and deprived me from sleep for more than a week until I sought my favorite dentist, Dr. Andrew Paulos, giving a shout out for you, Dr. Andrew Paulos, who relieved me from all pain, and it looks like he's saving my tooth with the help of the endodontist. And Dr. Andrew Paulos will be the dentist I sing the highest praises to. All of that to say, I'm devoted to you every week, even in the face of all such things. I do my very best to bring you a timely podcast to help us make sense out of what is going on in the world. Today is no exception with part 3 of my interview with Prophet Barry Wunsch, known as the Canadian Hammer. We've been talking about the serious spiritual warfare in Canada with evil efforts to force the nation into slavery under the one world government, and how God is at work to help the people of Canada have victory over this oppressive effort, which we must support through our prayers and practical helps. Barry will tell us more about how we can do just that in a bit, but first, I want to make sure that you know about the changes made to our planned ground tour in Greece, so you can have every opportunity to join us in April next year. Here's what you need to know. For the original tour, we needed the minimum number of attendees confirmed by March 31st, which we didn't meet. So I talked to those who had signed up to see if moving the potential trip to April 2026 would work, and for all who signed up, it will work. So rather than cancel, we are planning the same trip from April 19th, 2026 to April 27th, 2026, with an optional 4-day cruise of the Grecian islands as an add-on. The tour is called The Footsteps of Paul, where we will stand in some of the very places the Apostle Paul did. People who have taken this tour have commented on the stunning scenery, the rich history, and how actually walking and standing in the areas where the Apostle Paul traveled and taught made the Bible come alive as never before in ways that will stay with them forever. I do want to point out the guided portion of the tour is a walking tour among some ruins and with some steps, but it's not considered challenging to the average senior and of course everyone who's younger. On your free time, you will have the option of walking, using the metro, Uber, or taxis. Immediately following the ground tour, we're offering an optional 4-day cruise add-on to visit the Grecian islands. And for those of you who prefer, if you want to simply join us for the 4-day cruise, we have that option available as well. If you've ever wanted to go to Greece with a semi-guided tour, meaning you'll have plenty of free time to do as you want, with a small group of like-minded people, I can't think of any better offer than what we've come up with. Just send me an email to faithtoliveby@PamelaChristianMinistries.com with your name and the number in your party and your phone number, and then expect to hear back from me when it gets closer to the actual registration time. There is no obligation to place your name and information on the first contact for registration list. For pricing and details, visit my Beyond the Podcast page to learn of the exclusive tour package created for my podcast listeners. If you missed any portion of what I just shared, please listen to the end of this podcast to learn more and know how to get your name and the number in your party on the list for first registration options. The sooner, the better, since the total number in the tour is limited. Now, if you don't know about my guest, Barry Wunsch, he has been uniquely positioned by God as a prophet to help guide government officials specifically for the destiny of Canada and the proper establishment of Canada with her allied nations, perhaps the strongest ally for Canada being the United States of America. He's been dubbed the Canadian Hammer because of God's calling on his life to boldly cite government corruption, calling people and governments into account. You can learn more about Barry from his website listed in the show notes. Now, here's part 3 of my interview with internationally recognized prophet of God, Barry Wunsch. I'm picking up from the end of last week's part 2 message, where Barry expresses how he and those he's working with have been sharing the importance of Canada becoming liberated, standing up against an illegitimate government, and making a declaration of independence with their American friends, and how Grant Abraham, the forerunner for the United Canadian Party, brings real and certain hope for Canada's future. Here's part 3 of my interview with Barry Wunsch.
We've been sharing this narrative with our American friends in making steps towards, the liberation of Canada, standing up against an illegitimate government, and making a declaration of independence. I mean, I'm way out on a limb here. I mean, this is like, this is like crazy, big stuff, but I tell you, it's the truth, and God's favor has been upon it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we out, we talk. I mean, our phones are ringing every day. Things are coming in every day. As people become illuminated with the truth of really what's going on, and so numbers are growing, and so yeah, so he's got an integration from the west coast of Canada to Nova Scotia on the east coast that is people are taking their places, and things are getting ready to stand up.
Okay, I've got a twofold question for you then, because we want to see the liberation of God's people all around the world in all the nations of the
Yeah,
world. And what we've been caused to understand is that there is a deep state cabal in virtually every government of every nation in the world,
yeah,
at one level or
yeah,
another. And we
yeah,
have some key players. We've got Canada, the United States, we've got the European Union, we have Israel. These are some
yeah,
nations that are key in what
yeah.
God seems to be doing. So that leads me to my two questions. What can people inside Canada do to help liberate your nation? And then what can people outside Canada do to help?
Well, I would say one, people within Canada, I would suggest that they connect with Grant Abraham and the United Party of Canada, and connect there, sign up regionally, get involved where they can, put their boots on the ground. And incidentally, Grant is a Christian man, and he has an understanding that we're in a spiritual battle, first against good versus evil. And Canada, our call is to take the leaves of the trees for the healing of the nations. And so he has an understanding of kingdom governance and that which the Father is bringing, that's very unusual perhaps to a political mind, but God is all over it. So first and foremost, I would say people contact, and I mean, if they can't find Grant, connect them. They can connect with me, and I can, make the connection for them. And on the outside of Canada, you know what? We are so highly um, censored here, highly, highly, highly censored. Where things that we share, we could go to jail for. Like I mean, they've just changed the laws so heavy there that either shadow banning or the censorship is massive. So we actually need voices from outside of Canada willing to step up, do that interview, do that. Grant, can we talk to you? What's going on from outside our nation? Because otherwise, in Canada, we're very, very highly restricted. It's unbelievable.
Barry, count me in. Make sure that Grant and I have an opportunity to meet. I may not have a huge audience, but these kinds of episodes will help spread the word about what
Yeah,
you're doing, what I am doing, what Grant is doing, what needs to be done by grassroots efforts, individuals in every community, in every state, in every province. This
yeah,
is one of the ways we help the truth catch on fire and get a fire
yeah,
under people to actually take action.
yeah. Well, thank you for that. And you know what? Sorry. The relationships that God has put us in over the last few years with our American brothers and sisters. We are sons and daughters of the Most High God, and in some ways we have seen that border between us disappear
Yeah,
because first and foremost we belong to His kingdom,
right.
and so I mean I cherish the relationships that we have and the love that we have between the American and Canadian nations, and to see the deep state coming in and trying to destroy that and destroy what we're called to do together. It just absolutely breaks me. And so, I just, my love for America and my love for Canada, and seeing God fulfill his destiny here is, we must stand and we must link arms. And even, on 9/11, I might have shared this before, but on 9/11, a fellow that ran NORAD, a high level Canadian general that actually was in Cheyenne Mountain and in NORAD. He was the guy that shut down air traffic on 9/11. And much of that air traffic was diverted to Gander, Newfoundland. And during that very, very hard day in history, Canadians opened up their homes to our American brothers and sisters and made them a bowl of soup and gave them a warm bed and some blankets to sleep and grieve, the attack that had just come upon the nation. And so, we've got this bond, even through the Second World War, different. I mean, we've been the strongest of allies, and I'm going to do whatever I can that is within me to see that fought for
Yeah.
and maintained and nurtured and brought into a fullness. And so, anyway, that's my heart for. We've been there together in the past. We're going to be there together in the future.
Amen. Something I want to bring out, Barry, is that, yeah, we're very open that we are Christians, and I really appreciate the fact that Grant Abraham is a Christian. Um, but this is not specifically about Christianity. It's about truth.
No, that's right.
It's about righteousness or
That's
fair,
right.
right governance.
That's right.
And I really think that, well, we can read in the Bible that the government is upon Christ's shoulders.
Yes.
And I really believe that what the Lord is doing and has been doing, especially since 2020, is just showing us how evil is and how
Yeah.
good righteousness is, and asking people everywhere to make a choice, at least starting with that. Do you want to
Yeah.
be on the side of what's good and prosperous and really working in the best interest of people? Or do you want to be on the side of what's selfish and enslaving and leads to great oppression? That's really the choice of the people all around
That's
the world,
right.
Christian or not, whatever
That's right.
they surrender to. That's the choice before us right now. And
That's right.
with that being said, would you please speak to people who need to understand that first and foremost?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? We're seeing it. There's a resonance within, uh, in many Canadians and Americans, that outside of the religious political spirit, okay, which has been disgusting.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
over the years. I mean, I look at a lot of Christian leaders, and I was actually told by Roger Stone, uh, when a couple of years ago, he said actually the pastors are the worst
right.
because they're looking for proximity to power.
Hmm.
They're actually not there to love,
Hmm.
and they're actually not there to stand and support in ways that are meaningful.
Hmm.
And so, in a sense, I couldn't agree with him more. And so there is, it doesn't matter. And so we see a lot of, people coming to life here in Canada that are just concerned, that the government is taking their parental rights away. Where, I mean, this is a thing, Bill C4 in Canada, when, you basically make it illegal for a parent to stop a child from having their breasts cut off, where they can look at 5 years of jail to stop these terrible things against our children. I mean, it is. So I don't care if you're a believer or not, just as mothers and fathers, grandparents, we need to raise our voice and say, this is just, on morality and on ethical, values that are meaningful. Uh, we need to stand. We need to stand. And if we don't, it's actually on our watch.
Right.
It's actually, we're the ones that are to believe is out of passivity. And I think that's kind of what's gotten here in the first place,
Right.
is that passivity. And so, I would agree. I mean, we've got, we actually did a lot of public meetings, Grant and I, last year in the public square. And I mean, we had people coming from all walks of life, all ethnic values, all faiths. We had people coming in and hearing truth and going, wow, we need to be in on this.
Right. Right.
And so, yeah, that needs to be said.
You talk about apathy, and I agree. I've said that to my audience many, many times that the reason the world's in the mess that it's in is because the church has not been the salt and light that God called us to be. Not only called us to be, but equipped us and made it possible for us to be. So it's no surprise to me that the Bible also says God's judgment will begin with the house of the Lord. And
Yeah.
we are seeing that. There are churches and leaders that have been self-promoting, basically. They have not been called by God, and they're certainly not operating consistent with the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
and they are being called out. God is bringing the judgment before the church first, and we will also see it will also be happening, and it is within governments worldwide.
Yeah.
And what we need to understand is that all of us have a part to play. And again, we can choose: do we want to be on the side of truth, or do we want to be on the side of deception and lies?
Yeah.
That's really that simple.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, it is. You're right. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Now, one of the things that I've been asked, especially early in my podcast, because for so long, again, speaking of the apathy, the church bought into the lie of the separation of church and state.
Hmm.
And that's where the church began falling backwards. Because we used to have a black robe regiment. We used to have the pastors were really the leaders that helped people understand their stake and why they needed to vote and what kind of values they needed to be voting with. But we fell way far away from that. But I've been
Hmm.
asked, will I always talk about politics and government? And my answer is yes, because
Yeah.
that's why the Lord has called the church to function, to be in this world, is to be an influence on the governance of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you look at the ecclesia, I mean, ecclesia, as we're called to be, it's actually to get outside of the four walls of the church. It's actually to have an influence on the nation, on the society, on the things outside of just within our four little. And I'm not saying that, you've got one side, I think it's the Kaios, it's actually the family of God, and there is a place for that. When people come into the kingdom, it's the nurturing, it's the pastoring, it's the healing, it's the, all of that kind of stuff, which is important. But we've reduced it. You see, because most churches are now pastoral led. They're not apostolically led and prophetically led. And so when you look at the prophet and the apostle walking together out into the nation, that is actually a going out and a sending out. And so, the real apostolic fathers that I walk with, they're humble. They're not looking for center stage. They're not looking to hold the mic. They're looking to say, what is God is saying right now through the prophets? And what can we do to actually put tracks down, to actually implement something in a practical way in the nation that'll make a
Mhm.
positive difference? And so though, and that is a whole nother level. And so when you put the relationship of a prophet and apostle together like that, that actually is what God is doing and releasing. And there are a lot of apostles now, and I think even prophets, they throw this thing around way too loosely, and they've diminished the actual call and weight of the office. And you don't think you can go to school for a year and print a business card and now you're this or you're that. I mean, this is not how this works. I think God puts people through a process,
Yeah.
sometimes of decades, of crushing, of teaching, of learning through awful things in life,
Yes.
to be honest, to kind of squeeze us into a place where
Yes.
we can function. So as the real, I think apostles and prophets start to roll and function. I mean, I look at Grant, and actually I see Grant has got an apostolic call on him to build, to build, to build. I mean, we've got another fellow, and we've got different ones that we're related to that are involved in the wealth transfer. And these men in the wealth transfer, they're also an apostolic gift because they're taken, okay, what is God calling to do this for? Why is he even releasing this? And how can we
Hmm.
steward it for his purpose? And so this again is where the prophetic, where the kings and the priests and the prophets and apostles really can walk and see this played out
And influence the governments of the world.
and influence the governments of the world. And so this isn't, about having another podcast and about having another conference where we, I mean, this is actually getting stuff done. So so this, and then the other thing I'll add into this, which was a thought, is we have no problem taking our talents. God gives the talents, so many to this guy, so many to that guy, so many to another, and he comes back and, what did you do with it? What did you do with those talents? And so let me pose this question. We have no problem, usually as a people to take our money, our cash, and we're going to put this money in as a talent, and we're going to sow it into this, or we're going to sow it into that, into whatever the cause may be. Might be the homeless, it might be, whatever you pick your charity. But what about the talent we're given as, in our civic duty, and taking that talent he's giving to us as a vote or a voice, to actually take that talent and seed it into these places of, for change in the nation. Wow. If we all started to do a little bit of that and actually not be the silent majority, we could probably see a lot of things change.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I was also very glad to hear you bring up wealth transfer because I've been trying to work with my audience as I'm learning. I learn, I research, and I share. It's not like I know it. I am learning it and I'm sharing it as I learn.
Yeah,
But it takes money to run the world, and God knows that. The idea of wealth transfer, I see it being positioned so clearly with the current economic systems, monetary systems crashing and
correct.
crumbling, with the central banks coming to the end of what they can do, their manipulation that
Correct.
they've been doing for centuries. Even gold and silver markets right now are being impacted. And President Trump's been talking about using a secure coin, a type of cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
There's just a lot going on right now that could really take the control of money as we've known it from the hands of the cabal and put it into the hands of the people who will be responsible and use it for the best interest of all
Yes.
of humanity.
Yes. Yeah. And like in any war, what's the number one strategy? Is if you can cut off a supply chain. And so if you can take a bank account away from the deep state and see that crash coming, and the Lord is doing this, like the Lord is actually doing this. And so, I've had whistleblowers come to me from the Federal Reserve in America with evidence, all sorts of crazy stuff. That so the Lord is shaking these things down. I mean, I actually believe the Federal Reserve is broke. Like they're broke. And so, they're doing everything they can to try and maintain what they've got. But, here again, I think President Trump is pulling every lever, pushing every button he can to see that
Yeah,
thing actually crash. And even the tariff stuff, because it's not like he's wanting to hurt the people. He's looking to uproot the
right.
cabal. And that's what he's doing. And so, I was taken into vision where I saw the International monetary fund, I saw them like wiped out like gonzo. And actually Trump kind of coming in. But then I've also been taken into places where I've seen the release of the gold and the gold backing that's to come, for the new currencies and for the revaluation of currencies and all of this. And I can't again talk really about that here, but I'm well aware that this is real and there are people involved in making that happen.
Yeah.
And but we're also aware that geopolitically, that has to be the nations need to be in the right position for that to happen.
Mhm.
And this is why right now is actually probably the most critical moment we're in with President Trump. I mean, he's releasing even, the JFK files in the last few days, the Epstein files soon to come. I mean, these things are going to shake things apart even more.
Mhm.
And part of that is all interconnected with the collapsing of these different places, so that God will release what He's got into the hands of righteous leaders to steward it for for the goodness of humanity.
Mhm.
And that is literally happening right now. So they'll do anything to try and stop him and inhibit that. And so we just need to continue to pray, fast and pray, and raise our voice where we can to, so families and friends, can actually start to see some of the evidence at hand and say, okay, we get it.
With that in mind, we've talked about a lot of things that could be very frightening to people because it's crazy right now. I mean, there's just so much happening so fast and so furious. I mean, we're looking in one direction, and then our necks are being whipped around to look in another direction as things are occurring in the world. But we have every reason to remain hopeful and to
Yes.
not allow fear to be a part of our lives on any level. Barry, as we close and wrap up now, would you speak to that very point that we need to make sure people understand there is more hope today than there has ever been in hundreds of years?
Well, it's actually very exciting times because God is preparing the ground for this to happen. And so the exposure of these different things and even the shakedown of the markets and all this is actually for our liberty that's coming. It's actually, is it going to be a bit bumpy? Yeah, it's probably going to be a bit bumpy. But it's actually, we can celebrate the fact that God is actually bringing us to a point where this stuff is dealt with, and that we've got, again, God bless President Trump and the hand that is upon him as one of many who are positioned to stand with thousands of others behind the scenes to see this get done. And so we know light always wins, and the Father has never run away from a fight ever, nor has he ever lost one.
Amen. Amen, Barry. We have lots of reason to celebrate. It's going to be difficult before it gets better, but we need to understand, as you've already pointed out, God does not lose a fight.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Thank you again for having me on. It's always an honor and a privilege.
Thank you.
God bless you and all that you do.
You heard Barry say that Grant Abraham has been uniquely positioned by God to help liberate the nation and its precious people. Barry encourages people inside and outside Canada to help as much as we can and suggested we contact Grant to learn specifically what he and the United Party of Canada needs. The website is listed in the show notes. From that page, you'll see different ways you can connect, including all the major social media platforms. There are several videos you can watch to learn his plans to take Canada into its God-intended destiny, including a recent press conference Grant held in Ottawa, Canada. With all of that, you will hear Grant's heart for the nation and the people. I also recommend his book, Battle for the Soul of Canada, Firing the Forge. Now, I've provided a link through my Amazon affiliate account so you can bless me and him at the same time by purchasing his book, which is available through Amazon USA. Now, you can try through Amazon Canada, but when I viewed the link, it showed out of stock with no estimate when it will be available, which I think has to do with what Barry said about them being so heavily censored in Canada. Grant wrote something that I really want to bring to your attention. He said, quote, "If the Liberals can deconstruct Canada with a minority government, imagine what the populists and the social conservatives and the Christian right can do to reshape the political landscape by presenting a united voice that champions the core values that built this nation and neutralizes the darkness that is undermining Canadian families, our communities, and our national sovereignty." End quote. The same way we in America have had to fight against the tyrannical proponents of a one-world government, so are the people in Canada and many other places in the world. We have to see this is not just about an earthly government and politics. It's an ancient spiritual battle about good and evil and right and wrong and freedom from enslavement. I really appreciated what Barry brought out about our being willing to direct our dollars at different causes, with the challenge of our also understanding the importance of applying our talents, meaning our individual abilities, in support of what we know is important for God's kingdom. He challenged us to make certain we use our votes and our voices to bring about the changes needed that God's people are uniquely equipped to bring about as the ecclesia. And this is a good place for me to remind you of my online apologetics class that you can take at your own pace to become better equipped to use your voice to help bring others to know truth. The Bible is clear that each of us as Christ followers are to be ready in season and out of season to give the reason for the hope and joy that lies within us. Yet studies reveal Christians are reluctant to share their faith for lack of confidence in articulating our beliefs. Well, not to learn how to articulate our beliefs is willful ignorance, which we will also have to give account for. So why not get equipped? Check out my online course that includes video and live interactive study using the link in the show notes. As I think we can all sense, we are on the verge of experiencing God's undeniable intervention. Amanda Grace has repeatedly said for us to be extra alert in these days between Purim and Passover, which takes us through April 20th. Just today, as I'm recording this on April 4th, she posted another powerful word from the Lord. It's a very involved word that I suggest you watch and take notes because God provides many different events we can expect to unfold, it seems, this year, making 2025 a very intense year. Now, about next week's guest. I am truly excited to announce that I get to bring you Grant Abraham, the very same leader of the United Party of Canada Barry Wunsch spoke of, where we can learn much more about the conditions of Canada and what we must do in response to God in these critical times. You won't want to miss next week. Now, I ask you to please listen to my closing announcements and to take advantage of the many goods and services I bring you in an effort to at least cover the costs of this podcast. The first announcement clarifies more about the changes to our Greece tour now scheduled for April 2026. I want you to be able to join us, so please listen carefully and send me the email to save your place. It may seem far off, but most people make plans for a significant vacation about a year in advance. So if you haven't already expressed interest in traveling with us in April 2026, now is the time to do so. We want to have about 30 people total because this size group works best for the specific tour I have in mind. We'll be walking the footsteps of the Apostle Paul. I'm using the time between now and October 2025 to determine if we have enough interest, and the trend indicates we definitely should. We have just about 30 people on the list now, but I'd like to have more because when it comes to the actual day of making a commitment, things could have changed, and I want to be able to have at least 30 actually attend the tour. So, if you think you'd like to be part of the Faith to Live By Christian tour with me in Greece during April 2026, now is the time to get your name and number in your party on the list. There's no obligation at this point. You're just expressing your interest. Attendees need to arrange their own air travel to and from the Athens International Airport. To get your name on the list, send an email to faithtoliveby@PamelaChristianMinistries.com with the word Greece in the subject line. In the body of the email, provide your name, contact information, and number of people you expect to be in your party. This will place your name on the interested in attending list, but does not obligate you in any way. It merely assures you have first right of refusal when down payments are due. If you didn't get the details written down that I just shared, simply visit my Beyond the Podcast page using the link in the show notes. If you like what you hear from me with this podcast, I highly recommend my book series, my award-winning blog, and consider signing up for my certificate course in apologetics. My aim with that course is to help people learn how not only to use apologetics to share truth with others, but to help Christian leaders incorporate apologetics into their respective ministries so more Christians are learning how to share their faith. You can learn more by using the link in the show notes. For now, I offer my weekly podcasts, my blog, and bi-monthly e-newsletter at no cost. And certainly I have hard costs associated with doing all I do. If you've been blessed by my work and would like to help my work reach others, why not consider partnering with me? For as little as $10 a month, you can become a partner. Then together we can reach even more people for Jesus. Simply visit my Pamela Christian Ministries homepage and then click on the Give button at the top menu bar. Or if you prefer, you can go directly to the Give page using the link in the show notes. To become a partner, you can use my PayPal or Venmo account, but you will also see other ways you can support my work on that page. Whether you choose to become a monthly partner, give a one-time donation, purchase my books and products from my web store, or support my affiliate sponsors, anything you can do to help me continue this work would be greatly appreciated. And as always, your prayers and telling others about me and my ministry work is much needed. When it comes to my selection of affiliate sponsors, I first look for Christian-owned and operated businesses, and I make a point of personally using the products or services so I can fully endorse them. I seek sponsors that offer products or services you can get via the internet worldwide, and I specifically consider what is common to most people universally. So you'll find health, beauty, and wellness products through Dr. Zelenko's Z-Stack supplements and from Operation Tomahawk and from QE Strong. Dr. Zelenko's Z-Stack supplements are truly amazing and are available to my listeners for a 5% discount per purchase or a 10% discount for a monthly subscription using the promo code FTLB. Operation Tomahawk is a membership purchase program with an American-owned and operated company offering personal and household care products that are not made of toxins or genetically modified ingredients. Stop buying national brands from corporations that are part of the deep state cabal. Use the link in the show notes, and from the drop-down menu under How Did You Hear About Us, select Pamela Christian, Faith to Live By. You may have heard my interview with Rob Renee about QE Strong. Discover the benefits of quantum energy to overcome all sorts of ailments. Visit QEstrong.com and use the promo code FTLB at checkout to receive your discount. Then my newest affiliate I'm really excited to bring you is Q Streaming. That's CUE Streaming Television. People with United States addresses can get over 3,000 channels, including live TV with streaming television without a contract. Get all of your local networks and favorite movie and sports and pay-per-view channels for about half of what cable costs. See the video promo link in the show notes to learn more. Affiliate sponsors only provide financial support to me when you purchase what they offer. So before you support Amazon or any other retailer, if I offer what you're looking for, please purchase through me. When it comes to special occasions, birthdays, or Christmas gifts, consider my books, jewelry, CDs, and more from my web store or any of the affiliate goods and services I offer. When you purchase from my web store, be sure to use the promo code TRUTH, TRUTH, to receive a 20% discount. Again, you'll find all the links in the show notes. If you like the content and resource material I bring you with this podcast, you'll find much more by connecting with me through my blog. In fact, my blog has been awarded 2 unsolicited awards for Christian content. And I'm also very active on social media. I can cover much more on social media than I can with this weekly podcast. And if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to my complimentary bi-monthly e-newsletter. I offer encouragement, special offers, and one of my signature recipes with each and every edition. Yep, I'm a foodie and I love to entertain, which is why Faith, Family, Friends, and Food is a bonus segment of my bi-monthly e-newsletter. To receive even more, please be sure to check out my dedicated podcast listeners page, Beyond the Podcast. Here's where we can connect exclusively and you can download complimentary devotionals, resources, and more. On that page, I also ask you to help me learn more about you and what you want by completing the form visible once you scroll down that page. And something that is very easy for you to do and would mean a lot to me is for you to rate, subscribe, or comment on this podcast according to what your preferred listening platform allows. You know how it works. The more likes and subscriptions to this podcast, the more opportunity we have to expand the listening audience. And that means we can reach more people with the gospel message of Jesus while helping people learn how to better apply their Christian faith. I hope you'll join me next week and tell your friends and family to listen right here on Faith to Live By, where we learn how to gain spiritual victory over life's issues. Until next week, I'm Pam Christian, asking you to remember Christ died for us. The least we can do is live for Him.